So we don't actually fall in love. I mean, people do fall in love, but usually it's unconscious. We can choose love, right? We choose to be in partnership with that person. We choose to do the work with that person. We choose to show up every day to be in that relationship, just like we choose to go to work every day. It's a choice.
Welcome back to New World Normal Podcast, where every episode, I, Debbie Harrell, your host, am speaking with guest experts, thought leaders, and everyday people about societal norms, how we can question them, and how we might even disrupt them to start creating impactful changes in our lives and in the world around us. Today we're talking about relationships, and I feel like there's a lot of space to question normal around relationships. And honestly, it's a huge area with room for improvement, right? The way we are treating each other really impacts our overall happiness and the overall state of the world. If we can all learn to treat each other in all of our relationships with a little more compassion and understanding, what a difference that would make. And although relationships come in many forms, personal, work, family, in today's conversation, we end up spending a fair amount of time talking about romantic relationships. More specifically, we talk about being single, and even more specific than that, we talk about being single on purpose. And our guest even coaches me a little bit, which is kind of fun, and I'm sure that there were others that will benefit from some of the insights she uncovers. So our guest today is none other than relationship expert Isabel Campanelli. Isabel was gracious enough to come into the New World Normal community and lead a very helpful workshop on self-love, right? Because the way we are showing up for ourselves really impacts the way we're able to show up in all of our relationships. And I know that sounds kind of obvious in theory, but it can be a little elusive in practice. So I feel like we all need the reminder from time to time. Isabel considers herself a questioner of normal and even a rebel. She is a certified life and relationship coach with over 5 years of experience helping her clients develop and thrive in meaningful and authentic relationships. Isabel especially loves to work with women who have experienced a breakup and are ready to love their lives again. This conversation was a lot of fun and full of quite a few aha moments for me, and hopefully it will be for you too. So enjoy. Today, I'm super excited to talk to Isabel Campanelli, who is a relationship and communications coach who was gracious enough to come into the collective space in February and talk to us all about self-love and ways we can shower ourselves with more of it. And it really had me thinking about the importance of self-love. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do as a relationship coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Debbie. It was so fun in February doing that workshop with your community. And yeah, super looking forward to our conversation today. Yeah, as a love and relationship coach, I work with women who are coming out of a relationship, usually out of a romantic partnership of some style. And I have a rebirth program that I just launched, and it's a 12-week private coaching container for women. And I help them really after a breakup who are really ready to love their life again and find wholeness within themselves so they can attract the right person from a place of high self-worth.
So I bet that involves just a little bit of self-love work.
Oh, so much. Absolutely. Yeah. I have 3 different pillars in my program, and we have all these just kind of different pieces to it. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of self-love. I mean, self-love, self-acceptance, just being able to really see and feel who we are, and especially the shadowy dark parts, especially those, really giving those ones the most attention and love. So yeah, self-love is just a whole part of everything, I think.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the shadowy dark parts, because so many times we want to focus on the other stuff, but hiding those, it just feeds more of those shameful feelings. So I love that you're focusing on that in your program. And I love that self-love is a basis of it. Like, and I know in that workshop that you did,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize, like, I mean, I guess I did in a way, but it really solidified all the places that self-love show up for us. We really think about the rituals and routines that we do that are showing ourselves that we care for ourselves. But when you start thinking about it with more intention, it's like, oh gosh, like, yeah, all the ways that I care for myself, I should be showing love to myself. Like, I know you and I are on different medical journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a big focus on our nutrition. So how we are feeding ourselves is also a form of self-love. The way we're talking to ourselves, because I know you taught us that really cool strategy for counteracting automatic negative thoughts. And it was funny because you wouldn't necessarily think about that in a self-love workshop, but really the opposite of self-love is all that shit talking that we're doing in our heads. So like, how do we stop that? And one of the things I'm also curious about, for probably selfish reasons, was like, if we go too awry, there's going to be a good chance Isabel's going to be coaching me on this, because
Mm-hmm.
I am
Careful.
I know, like, I'm single on purpose right now. I've been saying that. And I'm like, I haven't even read John Kim's book yet, although it is on my shelf, and I need to. But for myself, like, I started down this deep dive of, doing the proverbial work, quote unquote, back in 2019, which has led me to this path of coaching. But it was really clear to me when I first decided, okay, I need to focus on this stuff, all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dating someone at the time. I'm like, I cannot do both.
Mm.
And it wasn't fair to either one of us to try to do both. And I feel like it was probably one of the healthiest relationship decisions I ever made, was to get out of that relationship in the way that I did when I did. And do you find more women are choosing to be single on purpose? Like, the women you're working with, women that are coming out of relationships, do you think they're choosing to stay out of a relationship longer so they can do a little of that work?
Yeah, so I have two philosophies. One is, and it's so dependent on the person. So I think for your, where you were in your healing journey and your inner work journey and being with that person, like whatever decision that you had made to leave was right for you at that time, right? And it's so different for everybody. And so one of my philosophies is you don't have to wait to be fully, to be healed and to be in a partnership. So most, like, some partnerships are actually a fertile ground for self-development and self-growth and for healing. Okay, so that's one world. And then the other world is for some people as well. It depends on the person. They might need more alone time, more time just focusing on themselves, being, single or not actively wanting to date or meet anybody. Like myself, like I'm very similar with you right now. Like we are in similar places, which, like, I'm healing my body and my health, and I'm working with my clients and building my business. That and they are my relationship. Like my relationship is with my body and myself first, and with my clients. And at the time, consciously saying, that's where I'm going to pour in all my love and my energy, and not pouring it in to a partnership. Right. And a lot of the times, what happens is when we're not consciously choosing, we're just defaulting to old ways or to ways that we think we should show up based off what we see around us. So that's like our friend groups, or what we see in movies or film, or our family pressures. So just to wrap that up, like the one world is, yes, people can heal together. Absolutely. And other people, they just want to do it on their own first. And then maybe they're ready to meet somebody else. And the whole, like underlying caveat of all that is no one's ever going to be 100% healed in any way, shape, or form. It's just about getting to a place where they feel good enough in their own skin and just like ready to incorporate another person into their world. Does that resonate?
Oh, totally. In fact, it was going to be my next question, because I'm like, okay, this work, it's not like it's ever done. right? It's a lifelong thing. We're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So when is the right time to maybe think about venturing out? Because I know for myself, again,
Hmm.
this is like
Careful.
this all.
I'm gonna start asking you questions here. I'm holding back. I'm
Is
holding back.
um because I am also in that, like, when I decided to do the work in 2019, it was like I took time off work, and then this
Uh-huh.
pandemic hit, so then my job kind of went away. So then I wasn't forced, and I feel like it was a gift of like, okay, let's see what you can do on your own.
Hmm.
And so I've been in this business building mode, and I'm not making the money I was prior to that. So I'm feeling there's a little element of me feeling like, what am I bringing to the relationship? And then I'm like looking at myself, what the hell, Debbie? It's not about bringing finances to a relationship. Like, you've done a lot of work. I really like the person I am compared to the person I was in 2018, 2019. So yeah, like, just because I'm not as financially stable as I was then doesn't make me less, I don't know how I want to use the word,
Wor-
worthy.
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 Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
yeah. So finding figure I know it's something that's come up for me recently. I'm like, okay, so maybe I need to start putting a little energy into that direction of, do you? Just thinking about it. Like, because for so long I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm like, nah, I do not have the time, the bandwidth to even think about it. But now it's like, maybe we should be considering this at least.
Think about being in a relationship or bringing in more money.
Oh, both. Because bringing in more money is always on the table.
Yeah.
Well, until I get to a certain point. I'm not all about the seven figure business, but although that would be nice. But yeah, like putting some thought into, like, do I want to be in a relationship? And the most ridiculous thing is, I feel like I'm talking way too much for a podcast episode, but
I'm here for it.
I was listening to another podcast, On Being, with Krista Tippett. I've only listened to a handful of her shows, but she was talking to Nick Offerman, because I'm watching The Last of Us, and his episode was so amazing. Are you watching that show?
I don't have TV. I don't watch anything.
Oh
I don't know
gosh.
anything about this stuff. No, I
Anyways,
know.
the third episode is just probably one of the most beautiful television episodes ever that I've ever watched. And he's in it. So I was like, oh, I need to hear what he's up to. And he tells the story. He's talking about his relationship and with his wife. And one of the things they like to do is do puzzles and listen to audiobooks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never wanted to be in a relationship more than I do right now. And he even one upped it. He's like, oh, well, we've actually discovered an even lower stress strategy for this activity. And that's, we use two puzzles.
Oh, so they each have their own
Each
puzzle.
have their own puzzle. So there's the stress of like, hey, back off my corners.
Uh, oh my
Um,
God. That's creative. That's creative. I'm curious for you about that moment. Like, what it's not about the puzzle and about the audiobooks, like for it's something else. What about that? What was that feeling that cultivated for you? Like, what is that? Is it in resonance with you in some way? I'm
it's
curious.
connecting on and I don't want to say it's important things, because I guess it depends on what audiobook they're listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Cultivating that common ground when you're listening to the same audiobook, even if it's trashy, if it's a trashy novel, you're still going to have that common ground and a conversation to have about whatever's happening in the book. I feel in past relationships, it's like the two separate lives, and the things that we were doing weren't really meaningful to me. It's kind of mimicking where my life has found itself from starting to do that work,
Ooh.
right? The alignment.
Yeah, alignment. I was just feeling into that because now you're doing meaningful work.
Yeah, I feel
And
I'm
so,
doing meaningful work. I feel like
yes,
I'm living aligned to who I am. So I
exactly.
don't want to waste time with small talk and chit chat and not feeling connected to whoever I decide to have a partnership with.
So, why now? Would you be open to having partnership?
I feel like because I've put in enough work to recognize my stuff and how they might show up in a relationship, but know that it's my stuff and be able to take responsibility for it and not just spew it on the other person.
Well, yeah. And I'm also hearing you say like you're getting more in alignment with who you are and what you value and what's meaningful to you. And
Mhm.
so, you know, a thing like doing puzzles and listening to a podcast together, it's like saying what I'm hearing you say is like, in the past, maybe you and partners were doing your own different things and you weren't having a common ground of like you do things together that you both enjoy that feels like low stress or something, for example.
Yeah, I feel like, especially for myself, because of my background and the men I was choosing, the partners I was choosing, I was conforming myself to their whims and desires. Like Sundays had a lot to do with football. And I'm like, I don't want to watch football. Like, I will. It's okay. It's not like I'm completely opposed to it. Although I do have a little, like, it's the NFL. These people are like literally beating themselves to death for our pleasure.
Yeah, it's just not your thing.
It's
And
not my thing.
in the past, it sounds like you just kind of allowed those things to happen and you were basically just not speaking your truth and showing up for the things that
Exactly.
you also
It was
wanted.
important to them. So then I made it
So you just
important
did
to
it.
me, but it wasn't really. So
That happens all the time. That happens so much. I mean, I've been there. I've done it as well. And oftentimes it's super common for women too, because women have a tendency to people please. It's just kind of biologically built into some of our DNA. And I'm not speaking for every woman. I'm not speaking to like the degree in which women people please, but there is a little bit of that there biologically to create safety and to create connection. Yeah, I mean, that's super common. And now I'm curious for you, what tools do you have that would help you basically like ask for more of what you want or you need in the relationship when it comes to maybe doing activities together?
oh, what well, like having the awareness and the belief that, oh, I can recognize the way my stuff's coming up, and like I have a desire to do X, Y, and Z. Whether I would actually do it, I don't know. That would have to be in practice. I don't think that
Yeah,
I would love to say, yeah, I'll show up for myself 100% in all the ways but you know,
practice. That's the key word. And
yeah.
that's the thing is the universe will give us unlimited practice partners. That's something that my friend who's really wise recently told me and it just clicked. The universe will give us unlimited practice partners. And sometimes we put so much pressure and we want to start dating again. I've heard of this. I've seen this many, many times. And I've done it myself where I've been like, okay, I'm ready to date again. I'm really ready to find this real person, this partner, this someone who I want to build a life with. And then I end up putting so much pressure on it when it's like, maybe, and this is part of my unorthodox dating policies that I have, but it's like maybe this person is just in your life. Like maybe if you meet somebody and you like them, but you're not really sure, right? It's like, well, maybe they are a practice partner. Maybe there's something to learn or gain from that relationship, learn about yourself or learn about the other person. Because every relationship is just, I mean, not every single relationship. There's some that are just like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. But the majority can really be fertile ground, like I said earlier, for self development, for really looking at ourselves and looking at like our own stuff that comes up and like practicing, like that
Yeah.
word, practice. Because we can think it, we can journal about it, we can talk about it all day. But just like you said, it doesn't really get in there. You don't really know for sure until you're in it.
Until you do it.
The
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. Just a bunch of experiments. Dating, dating is a bunch of experiments. And then you have a theory. We start with a theory. I I like this type of person with this, and this. I feel like this is going to be good for me. Okay, great. That's my theory. And then you get in it and you're like, oh, maybe not those things, but I like that and not that. Okay, great. Now more data points I have to then, go on to someone else. And maybe it's like a friend. It could be, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be like even looking at friendships. Like, okay, what type of friend do I want to have around? Because everything is a relationship.
Yes, that's a really good point. I love the way you talked about it as practice people, which doesn't necessarily sound that nice, but It's true. And the fact that I think it's true not just for people we might be dating, but I believe that most people we encounter have something that they can teach us, you know. And I love that you were bringing up the relationships are not just we're not just talking about romantic relationships, because relationships are all over throughout our life. There's, you know, parent child, there's best
Mm-hmm.
friends, there's office acquaintances, there's and we show up differently. And I know for myself it's been really important to show up more consistently as me in
Yes.
all the places. And I do have a fair amount of confidence if I decide to start dating again that I won't have the same kind of pressure. I'm sure I'm still going to put a little bit of pressure on myself just with my nature, but not because before when I would date, there was the pressure of like, I really wanted to find somebody.
Mm,
There was an
yeah.
element of like not wanting to be alone. But now that I've spent this, gosh, 3, almost 4 years single and not even looking, it's like, this isn't that bad. This is actually kind of nice. So I feel like it's going to take a special person to rise to that occasion. Like I'm not going to just be checking off the box like I was in the past. And I'm curious, is one of the topics we thought we might be talking a little bit about is how that has shifted in as a societal shift. Like as women are becoming more independent and their need for men isn't necessarily for that biological or like the protection and in decades past it would be like the financial security was always found in the man, where now women are able to take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that affecting the way people are able to have romantic relationships? Since that seems to be my focus for the day.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a really good question, and there's a lot to it. A lot of different kind of rabbit holes we could go down, but you know, what has happened already. I mean, this has happened, it's happening, it's already there. Women are surpassing men financially. It's just a thing. Women can make as much or more than men. Of course, there's still the glass ceiling in corporate America, and that still does exist. I think like there's like a dollar or cents difference. I don't know exactly. Don't fact check that. I mean, you should fact check that. Someone should fact check that. But I believe so. There is still that there. But that aside, women are capable, especially because with the way of the internet and technology, anybody, right? I mean, I will, for this example, just speak towards people who identify as a woman and people who identify as a man, just to make it simple. But really, anybody with the access of technology can make more than we used to in the past. And so when we look at it from that lens, someone who's a female, someone who's a male, women can bring in more. So biologically, in the past, historically, yes, in the 1920s and earlier, like there was more of that's what they call it, traditional. It was a tradition. It was common for women to marry younger, right? Have children younger and have a spouse earlier. And of course, this still happens in other parts of the world for different reasons. But in the United States, absolutely, like there was that need that women, needed that shelter and to bear children and to have the man provide. And with that has definitely changed dramatically. And there's been more in the modern era, right? Is this more balance, or where the dads are stay-at-home dads and the moms have jobs, right? And now everyone's working, not everyone, but since the pandemic, with most people or the option to work remotely, then people are able to have a little bit more harmonization between work and personal life. Sometimes it blends in a little bit more. And so there's even newer opportunities to get more creative with how people want to live and how they want to raise children. Whether it's stay-at-home father or mother, or they have a nanny, or they have daycare, or they have something else. There's so many different ways now that the world has just blossomed. And what I find, and I will always be rooted in this, is just because maybe, women can make as much or more than their male counterparts, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships here, under that umbrella, I still fundamentally know that we need connection and intimacy and love. And that doesn't have to come directly from a romantic partner. It can come from friendship, it can come from community, it can come from family, right? But that physical touch and emotional intimacy that usually a more romantic partner will give, that can be outsourced by friends and family and community, right? And that's why we see like there's different types of relationship dynamics where there's polarity, polyamory, or sorry, not polarity, there's polyamory, there's ethical non-monogamy, where there's more access to multiple people. Or in a traditional monogamous partnership, there is that physical touch and that emotional connection. And that's really what I think our humanity craves. And it doesn't have to look like a traditional, dyad, doesn't have to look like the way it's always looked. And that has been changing for a while. People are opening up to other ways of relating and getting their needs met, right? And if we want to bring that even more, even want to bring that one layer deeper, in traditional, more monogamous partnerships, whether you're single and you want one person or more, but if you're single and you do want somebody in your life, usually it's not that they nowadays need the man. The woman doesn't need the man to provide, but they do crave that intimacy, that emotional connection, that physical touch, that love. And yes, we can give it to ourselves. And absolutely, everybody, I'm a big supporter, as you know, of finding our own ways to fill our own cup and give ourselves our own love, but also knowing that inherently biologically, it's so important to have that other connection with another human. We see ourselves in each other. We can co-regulate our nervous systems by just touching, right? Hugging. There's so much research on hugging and the amount of it helps to de-stress and it helps to regulate. You can co-regulate your nervous system with another person's nervous system, right? And it's especially if someone has a more neutral, calm, and someone's high up, that neutral, calm person by a hug can bring, and there's science on this, and I don't know what that is, but I know that there's
fact
science.
Check that one too.
Yeah, like fact check. I don't have that science in my brain, but I've read it, seen it somewhere, where with even just a simple hug can really bring that person's heart rate down, bring some of their stress levels down, and just to have that.
Someone I follow on Instagram, his son asked him for a 60-second hug.
Yeah, 60 seconds.
And it was such a sweet post. Mm-hmm. But yes, I believe it is science, and I would encourage everyone to fact check it.
Yeah, I mean, or just like learn about it on your own, or even test it out. Like go hug somebody.
Excuse me,
go hug somebody.
60-second hug.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying about that. Yes, it is more normal to see those traditional roles being disrupted. And
definitely.
And I know a past episode, I had a blended family coach, and we talked about non-traditional households and that dance, and there being more acceptance around that, more acceptance and celebrating, like appreciating that it's all about the love and the connection, and it can look a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there's not just like one box or one category anymore. Like there's multiple different categories and labels and boxes, however you want to put the people in. Like there's so many different ways to do it now. It's just about like what do you want?
And I want to highlight something else you said, because I feel like it's really important in case there's anybody out there that might be thinking like, I really want to be in a romantic relationship, and they're putting that pressure on themselves, and they're feeling like they're missing out on something. What you were just saying is we are able to get that connection and intimacy from friend groups and community.
Totally. And so, family members.
To not feel like you're missing out on it if you can't find the romantic partner that you're yearning for, perhaps look for a community to connect with or new friends. Bumble even has that best friend part.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I know people who've met friends, great friends from that. Totally. Yeah. And I think, there's this piece to it where I there's this like really subtle piece that you kind of brought up earlier that I want to just add to. It's very subtle. But when we do want to start thinking about looking for partnership, and I'll speak for my clients or for myself, what I've personally witnessed or experienced on my own is, and I recently wrote about it in my most recent post about why I'm single and I choose to be, is there's an underlying need. When we have an underlying need that is an unhealthy need to have a partner, and it's coming from a place of lack. When I say unhealthy, all I'm saying is coming from a place of lack and not enough. It's coming from I don't know how, or I'm not comfortable, or I'm not capable, or I'm not willing to give it to myself or ask for it. Then I go source my love outside of someone else, outside to someone else. And so that's what happens is when we see people go from relationship to relationship without having some space in between to heal and to get to know themselves, we often see they carry the old baggage and the old patterns into that next partner. It's a different partner, but it's going to look the same because they're usually coming from a place of not enough, I'm not, or lack of some sort. And so we want to be mindful that when we choose to be with somebody, or even if it's dating, maybe it's a few dates, or maybe it's a month or 2 month plus partnership, or casual, even it could be casual partnership, whatever it is, when it has to do with one or more other people, it's just my invitation is to be mindful about the energetics, the energy you're bringing into that. Is it coming from a place of, I don't want to be alone, so therefore fill up my void, fill up my space to numb me out and distract me from the aloneness that I feel? Or is it coming from a place of, I feel full, I give myself enough love, I ask for it, I get it from my friends and family and community, or my animal? It's a whole other world. Animals, right? Animals give such deep unconditional love as well, right? And then going out and dating from a place of, like, basically the opposite of needy energy is self-love and acceptance and confidence and self-worth, and just owning who we are, where we are in our life, and saying, yes, I would love someone to share my life with me, but I'm also loving my life, even if they're not in my life, right?
That
And that
resonates
does
hugely.
that,
Yes.
yeah. And that's how I feel where you were, the way that you talk about where you were and then where you are now, this 4-year kind of hiatus. That's the energy I'm feeling you with now, because you're so much more in your purpose and you've done a lot of your inner work, that you're actually probably calibrated yourself to a certain level where you could seriously really be ready for somebody, and they're going to meet you where you're at. You're going to actually energetically attract your like partner. Like attracts like, right? So you're going to attract someone who's on that vibration. And granted, you might need to kiss a few frogs. That's going to happen.
Wait,
But
no, you
remember,
told me I got to go straight to the prince. That's what I was
no, no,
hearing.
no, 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 those, this is where practice partners come in,
I
right?
practice frogs.
And practice frogs, there are going to be some. And again, it's not about like, oh, this, like, I think we tend to put a Disney spin on it. Like, oh, I'm going to meet this person and they're going to walk in the door and I'm just going to be like, that's the one. Like, no, it doesn't really always happen like that, actually, ever. But what happens is it's a choice. So we don't actually fall in love. I mean, people do fall in love, but usually it's unconscious. We can choose love, right? We choose to be in partnership with that person. We choose to do the work with that person. We choose to show up every day to be in that relationship, just like we choose to go to work every day. It's a choice. And it's not like they're just going to come out of thin air. Sometimes that happens, but that's still a choice to continue to see them or not. We're always making choices all the time.
Yes, I love that you pointed out that it's the choice. and the taking the responsibility for the choice. There's someone that I follow on TikTok. He's a coach, I believe. He's all about questions. His TikTok is just him talking about questions, different questions he's encountered through his life. And as a coach, you know how fun questions can be.
Mm-hmm.
But he talked about the question that he and his wife ask each other every year and how they came upon it accidentally, because when they got married, they were getting married because they wanted to go into the Peace Corps. And to go into the Peace Corps, you had to be married for at least 6 months prior to going. So they got married like right away, kind of on a whim, it sounded like. And then they didn't end up going to the Peace Corps.
Mm.
And then when they got to their 1 year anniversary, they're kind of, it sounded like they were in a little bit of a trough, so to speak. And well, what are we doing? And I think the question he came up with was, well, do you want to do this for 1 more year and see? So it was basically about them choosing to be in the relationship every year at their anniversary. They would consciously choose again and discuss it. So
I super love that. I super love that, because that's actually something that I've practiced before, because is creating a conscious relationship container with somebody where there is a beginning and an end. And at the end, we reevaluate. It was just, ours was a 30-day container. And it was like, let's check in at the 30 days and see how things are going. And this is what long-term partnerships actually can do. And I do know people who do this. Actually, I have a dear wise woman friend who wrote a book around this called, I think it's called like Naked Marriage or something. And what her and her partner do, they every Friday is their date night, period. And you don't change it. It's date night, Friday, period. And when they start their date night, they sit on the couch and they do a check-in. How was your week? How are you? How's this going?
Say they sit on the couch naked.
Oh, I mean, no, maybe. No, but they do have arguments naked. That's their one thing that I think that they do. In her book.
God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah. But so people can do, like, there's so many different ways to create, like what he's created and what I've created in my 30 days is like creating those like check-in points to like look at the relationship itself. Cause there's 3 parties in the relationship. There's me, you, and the relationship. And the relationship doesn't always get talked about or gets airtime. Right? It's the meta conversation. The meta conversation is a conversation about the thing that we're in. This is what's happening in this moment, this conversation. Like our meta conversation is this podcast. What are we doing? How is this going for you?
Yeah.
How is this podcast? Am I talking too much? Are you talking too much? Right? That's the meta conversation.
People, how are we doing?
That's the meta conversation. You can have that in relationships too.
Well, I'm kind of getting excited about this whole relationship idea. And I feel like I need a new journal, because who doesn't have too many journals? And to start writing these lists, I love the idea of creating a conscious container and checking in and choosing to continue. I love the idea of the puzzles and the audiobook. One other one that I've heard from Brene Brown, and, she kind of knows her stuff.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
She says her and her husband check in each night and like rate their energy level or where they are, 1 to 10.
I've heard this.
So yeah. So if she's a 4 and he's a 7, he's like, I got dinner, you're good. Or like, if they're both 4s, we're like, okay, we're ordering pizza,
Yes.
I love that
capacity.
Yeah. And it gives the person the opportunity to rise and be like, hey, I'm going to care for you in this situation. And then another day you're likely going to be caring for me, which kind of disrupts those traditional roles.
Right.
A little bit too, because traditionally the woman would have been expected, even if she had a shitty day at work, to come home, cook dinner, do the stuff. And now there's an opportunity for the male in the relationship to step up.
Absolutely. And that's the modern era of relationships. That's where things have been progressing to. And also people get so caught up in, this is kind of a polarity conversation that we can kind of tie in here. People also get caught up in that it's so equal. It's so equal that there's no polarity anymore.
Oh, that
and that means there's no attraction. or the attraction is like less than or like lowered. And again, like I don't have like a personal experience from that, but I've read about this and studied it a bit, where there could be a neutralization. And some people are more neutral. Like some people don't have a high polarity, either highly masculine or highly feminine. Like some people are more neutral. And so a really even balanced neutral partnership where they both equally show up and do all the things equally, like works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It totally can work. It's just not the majority.
Not to bring the conversation back to me, but that makes so much sense. Because most of my years have been spent as a single mom and very capable of taking care of myself and my household. Like I can fix a toilet, I can do the things. And I feel like a lot of times that is, I don't want to say it's off-putting because I don't think it's conscious, but the fact that I am capable, like I'm not the damsel in distress. And I feel like some of the men I was attracting were looking for that damsel in distress. And so I've felt that in past relationships. So that makes a lot of sense.
So my curiosity for you then is, because you can do it all, do you always want to do it all?
Definitely. I've been known to not ask for help when I probably should. And that lends itself to learning how to be more vulnerable in an intimate setting. And I feel like
ding, ding, ding.
I feel like I'm ready to practice that. How good I'll be at it, I don't know, but I think it starts with practice.
It all starts with practice. No one's like,
this has totally been a coaching session for me. Like, I think I'm going to do this.
Yes. Oh my God, I love this. Yeah, 4 years. Come on. This is your year, 2023.
It is a good year.
Yeah. And right now, our solar system is going crazy. Jupiter and Venus are so close. If you look outside, I was outside last night and you can see Jupiter and Venus are like this close to each other, super close. And then if you look at it there's this app that I use, and it's like they're basically touching each other. It looks like they are. They're definitely not.
The sky has looked pretty amazing.
It's really cool. Month. Jupiter and Venus, which is love, is Venus, is all about love. And Jupiter is all about prosperity and abundance.
Venus is I'm a Taurus. Isn't that Venus? Isn't that my ruling planet?
Venus, there's a lot of Venus in Libra. I believe there's some in Taurus too. I'm not quite sure. I'm not an astrologer, but yes, something like that. Close.
Could somebody fact check that?
Someone just check that for us. Girlie, where's our Google gal or some guy?
Actually, doesn't Dax Shepard do that on the armchair?
I think so.
I think his girls
armchair experts. Yeah, she just looks it up. That's legit. I would do that.
That's some goals right there. I can have a third person.
Podcast goals. Yeah, you have a kid. What's your
daughter
doing?
A couple of them.
What are your kids doing? Have them sit and Google.
This has been so much fun, and I really do feel like it's been a coaching session for me, and hopefully other people are getting something out of this, and I'm sure they are. I feel like we went through most of our topics, but I know I wanted to finish because, like I've shared, that I didn't intend on sharing, but I shared how while my process has been coming into alignment and reconnecting with the core values that I had lost sight of over the years. And that's a space I really like showing up for my clients. And I know because of our past conversations and past relationship that you are someone who is very aligned to your values and who you are. You're very authentic. And now that you're working in this space as a relationship coach, how do you think that has changed over the years for you as you've come living in alignment, moving more into your purpose and being of service to your clients? How has your life changed because of that?
I could cry.
Don't do that because I'm gonna start crying.
Such a good question. Oh, well, what's coming through to me is just this like feeling of truth and purpose, and alignment. And like, look, for so many years I lived in San Francisco. I worked at startups. I worked in technology spaces for many years, for a decade. And I'm still wrapping up that world, to be honest. I'm still wrapping up that world and transitioning full time into coaching, which I'm not yet. And, for those 10 years, especially my younger years, working in tech and startups is just like, I never felt like I was home. I never felt like my soul's purpose, like why I'm here was being tapped, was being utilized. And I have a fear of like lost potential. And it's a guiding fear. It's a good fear. It guides me to stay in my potential and use my potential. I think everybody has gifts that we're born with, inherently gifts. And then we have skills that we learn and we pick up. And my gifts of intuition and energy and connection and people is finally being tapped. My well is being tapped and it's being used for good, finally, in the way that is most in alignment with my values, what I care about. And it's even in my natal chart around my purpose in this time is to heal my relationships, to heal my past generational wounds around relationships and love. And that is why I'm a coach and why I work in relationships and love and self-love, is because we're all always relating to each other all the time. And I'd way rather support people on their heart and their emotional space and having fulfilling relationships with themselves first and foremost and with others, because that is the lifeblood of humanity, is who we know, how we know them, what we do with them, how we feel about ourselves and we feel with others. I can't tell you how many times I've been in gorgeous trips and I had not been in alignment with the people I was with, and it just made it not the best trip. Like, obviously I found times where it was great, but I always remembered those moments where I was like, I just had more fun if I was alone or with different people who were more in alignment, where it felt more true for me. So I really wish that for everybody, is to just getting that, like finding what their calling is, as cheesy as it sounds, but finding that purpose.
I've got goosebumps. It's, yes, the alignment. And as you're living and moving into a space that's more aligned with who you are.
Oh my gosh, magic.
It's
Magic.
magic.
Literally magic happens every time. I'm sure there's a text or something coming through on my phone right now, because the universe is going to always, you can't miss what's meant for you. You can't miss what's meant for you, whether it's a purpose, a life calling, a passion, a project, a person, whatever it is. We can't miss what we're meant for. And when you step up and step into that, I literally am proof that as I do it, every time something else better comes, another opportunity, another gift, another person, another chance to learn more about myself, and another chance to be a better person in this world. It is magic. It's magic.
I want to put a pin
Or
in
it's just universal law.
I want to put a pin in two things you said. Oh, the one about you're showing up as a better person in the world.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like it's kind of a moral imperative at this time in history that we should all be stepping up and living aligned, because I can't believe that if we're living aligned to our values, I believe that the majority of us have values that are similar. And if we're living aligned to those, it's going to lead us to a place. I feel like it's not going to lead us to a place of chaos and violence.
No, it's a ripple effect.
So
it's a ripple effect.
Some of us first start heading in that direction, and if other people can fall in line, and then we'll all start moving to this space of more love and connection and acceptance. And then the other part I needed to comment on was tech. I had no idea you work in tech, and talk about polarities. I feel like tech to me sounds like such a masculine space. And now to see you showing up in such a feminine way with the intuition and the dancing and the, wow, that is magic. That is magic.
Never looked at it like that, but yeah, no, I was a completely different person when I was just doing the software thing and tech. Yeah, totally. But I was always me. I was me, but I was living and acting like we are our surroundings, our environment, epigenetics. It's a whole thing. Like, we are who we surround ourselves with. And so I was surrounding myself with communities that weren't in alignment with my core essence. So it was always like forcing and
I
efforting.
was going to say, and how much more effort did it take for you
So
to
much
fit
effort.
yourself in that box?
So much effort that I would numb myself out every night, or not every night, but I'd go party, I'd drink, I'd go do things. I mean, I was a huge party girl forever, huge party girl. I don't even drink. Like,
Oh my gosh,
I did,
that's a whole nother
it's a
conversation
whole
for me.
conversation. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I lived my life so differently because I was just literally always trying to find my true north. And I started to. I was just been a seeker. My whole story just started at 24. So I'll leave it there. But that was the age where everything started to finally shift.
Well, I am so glad that you are a seeker and you found your way to the space that you're in, because I believe you are doing your life's work, and
Mm-hmm.
what
Yep.
a gift to your clients and the world.
Thank you.
So as we're wrapping up, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about how they can connect with you? I know you mentioned that you had your rebirth program starting up. So how a little bit more about that and how they can find more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on my website at throughline-coaching.com. The through line is from like film, because there's always a through line. It's like in our life, there's a beginning, middle, and end. And where do we look at? What's that through line? What's the common theme and pattern? So through line is my business. Also on Instagram, I'm heavily on Instagram at coach.Isabel Campanelli. I have some podcast episodes up there as well that I've recorded with some friends, and my rebirth program is there is as well. Just more information on that is on Instagram. And the best way to get in touch with me is to book a 15-minute free clarity call where I can just see if it's a good fit for the program. And everyone's different. Like, I have this structure and this outline to this healing program for women when they come out of partnership and they want to find themselves again, get more aligned with who they are and who they want to be in the world, and really future vision of what life they want to create for themselves. And there's some past, wound healing as well. I do a lot of subconscious work with them. I'm trained in a few different modalities. So I help them go deep into like the past wounds, the past patterns, the past experiences that are really triggering. And when the nervous system is triggered, I bring them back there to that point, and then we can heal it from that spot. So there's a lot of nervous system healing work that I do as well. And yeah, it's a serious program. It's the real deal. It's serious.
Sounds pretty amazing.
It's the real deal.
It's a one-on-one container, right?
For now, it's one-on-one. I might offer some, I'm going to be partnering with some of my other love coach friends, and we will be offering a shorter, more group form of this. But for now, this is the second round that I'm offering this program. I've done it before just to make sure it was successful and people were getting results, and they are. So I've done a bunch of market research on this, and then now I've just launched it more out to the public. And then yeah, so for now it is a one-on-one private container, and everybody is different. Like, some people are going to need some things and some people won't need other things. I also do have 3 business partners I bring in. One of them does some subconscious reintegration work called RIM. Another one does astrology, and another one does human design. So my clients have opportunity to choose what they want, choose their own adventure, which partner they would like to work with.
I love a choose your adventure program.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah. So that's also embedded in the program.
Okay, folks, you heard it. Go sign up for Isabel's program. And if you missed any of that, all the links will be in the show notes.
Yes.
And thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm seriously gonna go buy a relationship journal now.
Are you gonna start dating again?
I can't wait.
Let me know.
Let's not forget I live on an island, so there's only so much I can. I would have to put some effort into it, and I'm not sure. I'm gonna start journaling about it first.
I don't know. I've met people on the side of the street before. I met my ex-boyfriend on the side of the street. I feel like it's possible. You can do it with less effort.
Thanks. I appreciate your confidence.
I believe it.
As I'm recording this outro, I have my older dog is under my desk snoring away. So if you're a regular listener to this show and you ever hear snoring in the background, it is my almost 14-year-old love bug. So she's old. She's earned the right to lay under my desk and snore. So apologies. I hope it doesn't offend you. And I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you got a tidbit or two that will help you show up in more meaningful ways for yourself or your relationships. And if you are someone who has experienced a breakup recently and you're looking to feel good again, or just looking for support during that transition, or if you're just someone who knows there's got to be more to this love life thing, Isabel currently has space in her new one-on-one private 12-week coaching program, Self Love Rebirth, a love journey from the inside out. So if that sounds interesting, reach out to her and schedule a 15-minute clarity call. You can find her at her website, throughlinecoaching.com, or her Instagram, coach.isabelcampanelli. And if you, as always, if you enjoy conversations like this, be sure to hop into our free Facebook community. Or if you are not on Facebook, number one, how did you do it? Number two, head over to nwncollective.com and join us in our intentional lifestyle community space. And thanks for listening.